Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
You can also find Comic Book Chronicles on Blue Sky. Also, I need to start putting that in there. But the sound effects that you have heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Agent_7 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, live and direct. We're back.
Here in Brooklyn, the place where we dwell.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Rest in peace to Guru.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, but I love that one. But yes, folks, you can also find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Yeah. All right, folks. We are going to hit this ground here running by talking about. I should have actually pulled it up, but pulled up the premiere episode of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters Season 2, Episode 1, which I believe is called Cause and Effect, but I'm going to look it up.
Definitely gotta check that because it's been a week for us since we watched it. So
Hey, and I was right. Yep, it was called
it looks
Cause
like
and
season
Effect.
2. Yeah, season 2 is already up.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be out tomorrow, but I guess it's out on Thursdays. So, alrighty. So, we definitely pick up where we left off at the end of season 1, and we find out that a plan is put into place to hopefully undo something that happened right at the end of season 1. Basically the cliffhanger, and it works, but it doesn't work exactly to plan. And what ends up happening is it doesn't backfire, right? The plan doesn't exactly backfire, but it doesn't go with a plan. And so I believe this is probably going to be what is, the impetus behind the majority of the season. There's going to be a lot of flashbacks here. It seems like much in the same way as the first season, as it kind of follows the younger Russell, the younger Russell in the past, and at the end of the day, we get to see how the relationships between the Mr. and Mrs. Randa and what is his character's name?
Lee Shaw.
Oh, that's right, Lee Shaw. Right, how all that stuff develops during the infancy of, or at least the founding days of Monarch.
Mm-hmm. And of course,
what did you think about that?
So, first off, I kind of wish that I had done what I said I was going to do and probably skim through the first season again.
Yeah.
Because even though it does start with a recap as things tend to happen, some of the recap didn't help that much because it's been quite a while since
2 years.
1. Yeah. So it was like, okay.
Listen, we had an entire Emmy-winning performance, right, by Anna Sawai in Shogun in between. So yeah, it has been a while.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, yeah, I remember like bits and pieces of it, but it was like, wait, I don't remember when that happened. And then it was like, I don't know, there was some stuff. I feel like there was some stuff missing from the recap that probably should have been in there, but it would have been too long. Regardless, though, you know, as Agent 70 said, you know, they enacted a plan that has to tie up a loose end from the license. But as unlike what Agent 70 said, I think the plan went exactly how it was supposed to go because there was no way a half-ass plan like that was not just gonna, you know, bring something else into the situation,
Right.
As it tend to do. And of course, you know, we see some the interpersonal relationships with folks. We also see, which is a slight spoiler, but it's not that much of a spoiler because let's face it, side characters in this show are likely not long for the show or whatever, with the exception of one dude, probably. But it's like, you know what, side characters come in and out of the show here and there and another, and it was, and I think gets brought up during the course of the show. It was like, yeah, you know, the future of Monarch just happens to be something you could affect because, you know, you were there at the beginning. It's that kind of situation, and oh wait, there's this person in charge. Not no more. So it's like, oh, okay, well,
I mean, that was a fairly prominent character from season 1,
right?
So, spoiler alert: something does happen to a fairly prominent character from season 1.
But that also still goes along with how the movies have been going, because if you recall, like during the whole rush of those movies, like, oh yeah, here's the main character of this movie and this movie, then they show up in another movie, and then it's like, oh, now they're not no longer with us. Weird.
Now they did,
right?
Yeah.
So and there was a whole string of that during and it was only like 4 or 5 movies, so it wasn't like, so it's just weird. It's like, all right, 1, 2, yeah, oh, this character's gonna be here for a minute. Nope, gone. So it's like they're continuing that part in this show at the very least, and I know I'm pretty sure there's another movie coming up at some point. And I still hadn't even seen the last one, so doesn't necessarily, as far as I know, tie to that one as closely because this is kind of off on the side. But yeah, I'm sure at some point it's gonna kind of weave in and out of, you know, the last movie and whatever movie's coming up, you know, probably at the end of the season.
Exactly. Definitely integrating itself into the continuity, into the canon. So, you know, really, you know, making it, I think, hold that thought, making it more of, you know, a treat to be in the know, but it's not a requirement to be in the know.
Yeah, so basically kind of like the MCU at this point.
Exactly. So, very much like, I was about to say, very much like the context that we found ourselves in watching Wonder Man. Right. Because I think they did an excellent job of, you know, weaving themselves into the established canon and continuity, but not making it a complete requirement.
Right. So that being said, So that being said, there's one part of this that still is funny with me because I cannot watch. Well, I can. I'm gonna have to, but it's hard to watch Wyatt Russell without thinking of Punchable Cap.
Ah.
And that was, and when I saw him on the screen, I was like, "Damn it, it's Punchable Cap." I mean, I'm sure he's probably a nice guy, and he's his dad's son, whatever. So all everything is there, but still, it's like, damn it, it's Punchable Cap.
Well, nowadays we have to call him Punchable U.S. Agent. So.
Well, yeah, yes, exactly, but still, you know, short term it. So that being said, though, it was, you know, continues to be a well done show. Looks like they definitely did get a little bit more budget. Not to say they didn't, because it's on Apple TV. So if you got Apple TV and they have X amount for a budget, you know, they do have a probably better than average size budget as compared to other places that would do a show.
Or like what I was gonna say is, or they've budgeted a decent amount for that first episode to draw people in because we got to see a decent amount of monsters.
Right. Well, it could be also the case. You're right. But I think if Legacy is behind it to where one would believe it is, they probably, you know.
Oh, you mean Legendary?
Yeah, I thought that's what I said. I thought. Okay. But maybe not. This is what I meant if I didn't say it.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, you said legacy. I'm like, oh no.
I meant legendary. So if they're behind it, they probably threw a little bit something. I was like, you know what, y'all doing us a solid. We got this, and plus this is helping us out. So a couple other stacks can go in here for this production. But yeah, you're probably right. It's probably like, yeah, the first episode just got to get folks in, and the rest of them will be, the little less budgeted, but still, quality acted and whatnot. It's just hey, we're gonna keep these people here and there, who still filming in Canada, which I'm sure they were for this one anyway, or wherever else they can get some cheap production costs done. Next thing. But if you were interested in the first season, bring yourself back for this one. Unless you want to wait, and like if you're holding off on that that 7 days Apple TV, wait till this all over with and then plunk it down. Then I'm not saying that's happened before, but I'm just saying this is a thing that could happen. Sure. Or if you know somebody who has Apple TV you want to share, or hey. Find your way across the stream. It's a pretty good watch, I think. Because there's nothing else I want to say too much about it out that wouldn't give too much away. The only thing that kind of messed me up for a second was like, I thought one of the characters I thought they just got rid of one of the characters like right off the bat, because I didn't see the person's name in the opening credits, but that person was there. So I was like, okay. And then I looked at IMDb and was like, okay, they're still there. So that's okay, cool. No, maybe I was tripping or I just missed it. But yeah, we're back at it. As far as I know, we don't know actually we do know the episode count. Hold on. Because I think it is. Yep, 10 episodes looks like. So they got one more episode than the last season. Oh, no, actually, that's not true. That is not true at all.
No, I think it's exactly.
No, it is the exact same. Yeah. So 10 episodes for this season, and yeah, we'll wait. Actually, that's the other thing I need to find out to see if they're doing that. No, one per week. I thought they were going to double up on one of them, but they are not doing that, or at least according to IMDb. So yeah, we will be talking about this more during the coming weeks, along with another show that's definitely coming along the way. So, but that being said, we are going to move along into the books of the week. Starting off with Batgirl number 17.
Alrighty. Batgirl number 17, published by DC, is written by Tate Brombal with pencils and inks by Takeshi Miyazawa, with additional inks by Juan Castro. Colors are by Mike Spicer, and letters are by Tom Napolitano. So this actually ties itself into some of the events of the greater Bat corner of the DC universe by placing it into a certain time and a certain context, and it puts Cassandra back into Gotham City, but in Gotham's Chinatown. And what ends up happening in this issue is that something has emerged or become effective within Cassie that we last saw being used against her by some other characters in the previous several story arcs. And that is basically the impetus for the story here. That is where the story turns and leads us down a different path than what was intended, at least by in the story, that is, for like a mini Bat family reunion. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat with his thoughts.
Yeah, so I did see the footnote in there that that refers to a book that Agent 70 will be talking about later, and I actually did skim that issue just to see what could possibly be the case, but I didn't see anything right off the bat. So it is what it is. Oops. Hello to the person in chat that in the Twitch chat that came through. Welcome in. Appreciate you for being here.
How are you? How are you doing?
So yeah, new arc back in Gotham. Cassie's got some issues that sprung up, which there was a joke that some person would make about let's just say a monthly event that happens to women and what happens to Cassie in this, but I'm not going to be the one to make that joke.
Oh no.
But we find her newfound brother and her other new friend who there's something still about her that we still need to find out. Okay. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, we get to find themselves settling in Gotham and talking while, Cass is on her way to, like Agent 70 said, the Bat Luncheon, when things happen off. And of course, things tend to find themselves together. Back to whatever. We get some great Miyazawa art, especially with a certain scene dealing with a fight that happens. Which is always great to see because he always does that stuff really good. Or that kind of stuff really good. And yeah, that's like I said, without getting anything too much away, it was a good read. It's I wouldn't necessarily say it was a good jumping on point, but if you kind of know bits and pieces about what happened in the last couple of arcs, and then yeah, you can kind of pop in here and be like, yeah, all right, that's the thing that happened, and now she's back in here. So you forgive me if I can't pronounce your name. This is in the chat, but he says, new comic book reader and collector here. I hope you guys are doing awesome. We are. Thank you very much. And hey, what books are you into? What have you been getting into collecting? So we appreciate you for coming through. But yeah, Batgirl 17, like I said, art's great. The story is because the story is what it is so far, because like I said, with this new arc, it's going a place, and we're seeing kind of in time where it is going, but also yeah, it's some still pretty good stuff. So worth a chance to get caught up on if you do tend to do that. And with that, oh, you know what? I did the thing I said I wasn't going to do, and because I told Agent 70 that we were going to start off with one book, and we did not actually start off with that book. But it's just as well, because it's that was actually what we were originally going to start off with. But now we're about to get into some shenanigans, because the next book we're going to talk about is DCKO number 5 of 5.
Here we go. This is the big DC event that's garnering a lot of comment and a lot of people reading. I mean, listen, it's not as big as the absolute corner of the DC universe, but it's definitely generating some interest and generating some sales for our respective local comic book stores. So DCKO number 5 is written by Scott Snyder. The writer of the interlude and the coda is Joshua Williamson. The art on the main story is by Javi Fernandez. The art for the interlude is by Shermanico. The art for the coda is by Wes Craig. Colors on this entire shebang are by Alejandro. It's Alejandro. That's a typo for me, I think. Alejandro Sanchez, and letters are by Hassan Otsmane El Ho. So, yeah, there's some stuff going on in this one. and Roddykat and I had just started to talk about it during our pre-production meeting, and we tabled it to talk about during the show, because ultimately I'm not 100% sure what happened here, right?
Period. Just put a period right there, because I agree with you on that one. Go on.
Right. And we end up with a tease of yet another DC event named Crisis.
Potentially, yeah.
Right? We don't, it's not official, but for goodness sakes, guys. I mean, I get it. Marvel has Secret Wars, you have Crisis, but it's all I did
Right.
was
Marvel's got the
groan.
Ultimate Universe. They've got Absolute Universe.
Right. So when I finish this, I just kind of groaned. I don't want to get into it because there's going to be a lot of spoilery stuff here, because there is, what's involved is like a little bit of setup for where they're going forward, how they're using this to go forward. And at the same time, kind of create new places for certain characters to go. Some of them might be going away for a little while, and that's kind of where we are at this point. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his take on this.
Yeah. Let's see. Before I get into that, okay. So the person name in chat is Biscuit. That's an interesting way to write that. I like it. Also, my favorite Portishead song. But anyway, said it started collecting and reading pretty much everything, but I've been liking Gambit recently and just picked up an X-Men #4. So we will be talking about a couple of X-Men books later on, which probably may or may not be spoiler for you. But I assume you mean if you're liking Gambit, you're tuned in to Uncanny X-Men at that, of which did not come out this week, but
the team is featured in that X-Men annual, like I was saying earlier.
Right.
In a book pre-production. It'll come up later.
Right. Then book that 87 we'll be talking about later. And I'm sure Uncanny is probably coming out next week. So yeah, that's cool. Good. Hey, there's a lot of good X-Men stuff out there. Or there's some good X-Men stuff out there recently. So that's a good place to get into things. But as far as DCKO #5, one, I'm kind of glad it's over. Two, so the whole premise of this thing was like, hey, there's this big, almost Contest of Champions type situation going on. And so for folks who don't know what Contest of Champions is, it was an old Marvel event where basically the heroes end up fighting each other because of a cosmic bet. Basically, the cosmic bet part does not happen here, but the basic premise kind of happens here. The end result ended up being, hey, folks got to go up, and whoever wins got to go up against Darkseid, and this is where we are with this issue. But there's a slight swerve in this, and that's probably about as much as I will say. That won't be too spoilerific here, because this is the last issue. But yeah, we have said this before. We will say it again. DC's history is bonkers, and they are continuing that in high amounts with this particular book, because it goes a certain way, and then it's like, hold on, we're gonna switch it up a little bit, and then we're just gonna throw a Crisis and maybe possibly a Flashpoint, and oh, by the way, we're going to tease another one, as Agent 70 said, another upcoming event / Crisis thing that's coming up our way. And it's like the whole thing is just bonkers. And the one of the funny parts about it is that it is centered around a character that ends up being centered around a character from some things that happen in this issue. And I thought to myself, oh, so it's not actually centered around this other popular character that has the most books and whatnot in the DC library at this point. That's kind of funny. Also, we find that a character is quoting Kanye. Say that the other character is quoting Kanye, and I'm sitting here like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's an interesting use of that phrase. But that being said, and also kind of in a certain way ties back to the new history of the DC universe, which wrapped up a while ago, as if to say, oh wait, well, I mean, they've been saying this, like, hey, hidden history is still being written. So yeah, and I kind of figured when that new history of DC his universe ended the way it did, they were pretty much suggesting that's the case. And if it wasn't confirmed then, it's definitely confirmed now with what happened during the course of this issue. So, yeah, history's still. I mean, DC's still bonkers. They're still, despite them saying at one point, yeah, we're gonna get away from crises and whatnot and they lied. They were masking it fairly well, but for people who have been reading comic books for a good while, you can't fool us. You can't fool us.
Well, at the end of the day, they also kind of snuck it in right at the end.
Right.
They're just like,
Right.
it just kind of made me laugh. I just laughed when I saw it.
Yeah, same thing. Because it was like, oh, they just did this, huh? They just snuck a damn crisis in here. Honest. In fact, I think I have it in my. Yeah, I did. I have it in my notes. It was like, oh, they just snuck it in there, real sly like. But you can't. Again, still can't fool us, DC. You can't. But anyway, if you've been picking up DCKO and somehow you like it, I'm not saying it's a bad read. It's just real dumb. And you can take that as a good or a bad way. And some of the side stuff, then hey, I hope you are enjoying it because it has definitely been selling for them, as Agent 70 said earlier, because people will buy them an event. People will gripe about the amount of events like we do, but they will definitely buy them. So, you can't stop the ship that's being rowed by the people who are rowing against it. But yeah, I think there was something else in here that I was going to mention about it, but it's probably not even worth it.
Well, the Flashpoint part, I saw that. I was like, so I guess I didn't really read Flashpoint, but I'm like, well, if this is if this is how they're going to use or interact with this particular character in this event, because this character really hasn't been around in this event. Right. I guess that's Flashpointy.
Yeah, kinda. But I'm saying that because Flashpoint is just basically a different kind of crisis in this point, but it's one that kind of had some changes to where it was like, oh no, they came and screwed some stuff up. Did that part didn't happen to change the universe, but the universe did change presumably. And I guess we will see the actions of that coming out with everything coming out from here on out. I assume that might have started this week, but I'm not entirely sure. The other DC books are going to catch up with this at some point. We are probably definitely going to see it in the Absolute Universe fairly soon. I would assume, since everything is pointing that way. Don't know.
Yep, I think you're right.
Let's see. Biscuits in chat says, I'm not too worried about spoilers. I love the stories and we'll continue to reread them. That's cool. Yeah, so we still do spoilers because, we do, this is why we do a video podcast. We just do an audio podcast and, we don't, people come along and sometimes, people don't like being spoiled. So we try to.
Because at the end of the day, we're trying to not completely destroy the experience of discovering it on the page.
Right. And some things need to actually be discovered on the page because, like, you know what? There's nothing good as just seeing it and it's like, wow, that is actually crazy. Biscuits also asks, and Agent 7, you might be able to actually answer this question slightly better than I am, but I can. But any tips for cleaning and pressing your comics? I'm not sure.
I have not done it yet. I know that there are more and more people doing it, though. There are more and more stores that are offering that service.
Right.
And in terms of pricing, shop around. Right? That's what I would suggest. I think it helps to know that a particular shop that's offering to do cleaning and pressing is doing it on a regular basis.
Right.
Right? And, the more reputable, the better, I think. It's almost like very general advice. I know that there are a few shops here. Depending upon where you are located, you'll have more choices. I'm located in New York City, so I definitely have a few choices for cleaning and pressing comic books before sending them off to CGC grading or CG whatever the other option is. I know that there's two options for grading and
Right.
slabbing.
Yeah, and I'm in South Carolina, and I honestly haven't not looked into it because one, I still, my most of my comics, with the exception of stuff that's behind me and in another room that are brand new, are kind of still in a place where I don't see it, and a lot of them I already know they're in a state where that kind of service would not help anything for some of them, so. And also, like I said, being in South Carolina, not that many places around here. There's, or there's a couple of comic book stops, short places I have, but I don't think any of them have that kind of service. So as far as I know 2 of them specifically don't. The one I normally go to, and one that's like a record store or record store / this.
Right. I'm sure. What I was gonna say is, I'm sure if Roddykat asked around, he'd probably be able to find something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, but like I said, I've not
Because
looked into
service, right? It's a service that is growing in popularity.
Right.
So it's definitely out there. You just have to find it. It's a little harder to find in some places.
In fact, now that I think about it, when I was in the shop last week, I think the dude at my dude at the time did say somebody kind of came in, not necessarily asking about that, but had some stuff that needed that done.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. But anyway, we are going to move. I was basically what about doing it yourself? I don't know if that's a good thing because you would have to know what you were doing in that particular case.
Yeah. I mean, listen, be careful. I'm sure that there are YouTube videos out there, but I know that there's some specialized equipment that makes things easier.
Right.
And I don't know if that's worth the investment for you.
Right.
That do your research. Just
Yes.
like with anything.
Yeah. Basically. That being said, we're going to go into the next book that we have in common, which is sad. To see this book go. Avengers number 36.
Avengers number 36, published by Marvel, is written by Jed MacKay with art by Fareed Karami. Colors are by Federico Blee, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. So, this is the final issue of Jed MacKay's Avengers run. And it doesn't end necessarily with a whimper, but it definitely ends in a very gentle way. Like it sticks a very soft landing. It's not a hard landing. This is not Avengers Disassembled. Ain't nobody getting, ain't nobody getting massacred in this, right? Forgive my colloquialism, right? But I do have a couple things to mention before we get Roddykat's take on this. And that is, one, I have to applaud Fareed Karami's art. There's something about it that's very distinct. It's almost like the character models are very complete, right? Like you're getting a lot of kind of full body drawings of these characters, and if you look there, it's almost like it's the anti-Liefeld. There are feet galore. He draws like head to toe all the time. There's head to toe shots. It's like I said, the anti-Liefeld. So, I really, I'm looking forward to see where Fareed Karami next does his work. Hopefully it's for another high-profile Marvel book. But if he's like, I haven't even Googled this particular artist. I don't know if he is exclusively Marvel or if he's kind of started somewhere else and Marvel's kind of poached him from other work. But oh wow, so he's Iranian, based in Turkey. This is the League of Comic Geeks information on this guy.
Right.
So wow, doing some indie stuff. Interesting. But anyway, I'll get back to him. But he's doing really good work. And no real spoilers here, but the soft landing for this run also leads into a soft launch of a new run or the next run, right? So that's really where this book ends. runs, and I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his take on this.
So, funny enough, I have a slightly opposite take on the art than Agent 70. I agree with mostly everything he said, but there was, for me at least, there was one page that was like, what's going on here? Or not necessarily what's going on here. Like, it definitely was detailed, but it was like the depictions of the characters on the page. In this particular page, it was like it was Captain Marvel and Captain America. I'm like, they look kind of weird on this page, and I think in one panel it looked like Sam was spitting or something. I was like, I don't know if that was an intentional thing or whatever the case may be, but it was like, okay, that part looks weird. Outside of that, yeah, the art is solid. So, but yeah, we get to basically the
he does a spit take. It's a spit take.
That's why I was kind of wondering, but it didn't seem like it at the time when it was read. And I get that because it was like because it was asked a question and it was like, okay, what? But it seemed like it was a little after the fact that would have been the reaction to it, and it could be just me. So,
right. But if you look at on that same page, you see a full shot of Captain Marvel, including feet.
Right.
I kind of I can't help but notice that it's literally like he's not cheating. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not pulling a Liefeld.
Right. Indeed.
Goodness.
But yeah, so as we said, this is the last issue of MacKay's
You even
run.
see the feet from Sam Wilson in the top panel. They're sitting on a bench on the top of a picnic table. It looks like you see the back of his feet.
Right. So
definitely, Rob Liefeld would not be doing that.
Okay, let's get past that. Like everything you're saying is absolutely true, but we get past.
I know. I'm kind of having some real fun with something I noticed, and I know I've noticed this before, but because this is the last issue of this run, and we don't know when he's going to come up next. I kind of wanted to put some emphasis on that.
Right. And as you said, yeah, because I do remember seeing his name on some indie stuff fairly recently, or at some point recently. So I knew he was doing other stuff outside of Marvel, but I just don't remember the stuff that he's actually doing. So, or if it was something I've actually read. But yeah, like I said, this is the last issue of this book. Jed MacKay's run. He's putting his toys back in the box. We may see some stuff coming back up later on if somebody chooses to use a couple of things he set up here. But we shall see. As the endings of Avengers volumes go, this is probably might be one of my favorites. Kind of going into like that, I would have to think. Disassemble was not one of them because I hated it. Not just I hate it. I love Disassemble because okay, that's different. But man, why they have to do that to my people? Because I'm a big Avengers fan. It's like, and I hate to see all of that go down like it did. But and what it ended up going into, which weirdly enough, I guess we're slightly going back into that era again. If the person who's coming back to Marvel is getting the book again, we shall see. But we're just kind of like, the loose ends are there. The big bad has kind of been taken care of, but we still see a little bit of them kind of floating around. So, down without out, which is also kind of made me feel like it's like, okay, so they're getting rid of them. They got rid of them in the MCU, and now they get rid of them here, but things are not necessarily ended up being what they seemed at the start of this issue.
Right.
And it's kind of if you've watched the episodes of Star Trek Next Generation, and this is like, why is he pulling this? It's called All Good Things. If you've seen that, it kind of feels like that in a way. They don't have the nice little group poker game at the end, but it definitely does end. And I was like, hey, you know what? And stop. And then it's just you can see if this was a show or a movie, you can just like, all right. And the next thing is BAP. And it just cuts to black and the credits run, and that will probably be likely taken up in the next movie slash show slash in this case
Right. It's
book.
probably, it's definitely not Tony Soprano getting killed at the end of The Sopranos, but spoiler
Yes.
alert.
Yes, for what 10, 20-year-old show, yeah. So, but yeah, like I said, if you have been keeping up with the Avengers or not, it's you will not know some things that happened during the course of the volume, but as an ending issue, which actually brings me to something else, because something got brought up that was from the very first issue of this volume, and I was like, I don't remember that happening, because they mentioned who the first big bad was. I'm like, who used to be a bigger bad than than they ended up being, and now it's just like, oh yeah, now they're just the opening. It was just an opening issue / arc, throwaway villain. So times have changed for that, but they mentioned the person's name, and I was like, I don't remember that happened. So I had to kind of fish back to the first issue to see what that was about, or at the very least a reference to the character from then. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Regardless, though, Avengers 36, good read, potential click of the week for myself, and yeah, we'll see what comes next with that. Next up, though, we are going to stay in the Marvel corner but we're going into a little bit of space with Nova Centurion number 5.
Nova Centurion number 5 is written by Jed MacKay, with art by Alvaro Lopez, colors by Mattia Iacono, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. So it seems like we're getting close to the ending of this particular story arc, right? We're creating what I think is going to be the culmination of the story arc. So we're setting up the big battle at the end of this, opening arc for the series. Hopefully this book continues past the opening arc. Hopefully it gets to hopefully the story gets to be told that Jed MacKay wanted to tell, right? That's kind of first and foremost when it comes to my thoughts on that. But it's a little difficult for me to read this story and remember that they've really taken the Guardians of the Galaxy out of Peter Quill. Like they've really put him in a very different spot, at least for now, right? That may not be permanent, but it's a very different take on the character. I think that they're still going to have some fun with the remnants of his Guardians of the Galaxy days. That they may just use this to help return him to his Guardians of the Galaxy roots, in a sense. That may be part of what MacKay is doing as part of this Nova Centurion story. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, some funny xenobiology going on here. Lots of and I'll I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit haphazardly, because there's one concept here that I had a little trouble with, and I've had trouble with this for the first 5 issues of this book, in that the Kree-Skrull War is not an event, it's a thing, or people. I'm like, come on, y'all, seriously?
Right, they co-opted the name for their group as opposed to the event that it was. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, no, that was a thing that happened. That was an event that happened. Why are you naming yourselves? Fine, I couldn't help. I can't help but just groan. But yeah, the story ends with Rich Rider having to possibly ride to save the day, because this xenobiology issue is getting to be a lot bigger than anyone thought it was. And we'll let Roddykat give his take on this.
Yeah, some would say Flurkin-esque in the delivery. Let's just say, but
Yes,
on a bigger scale.
on a
Uh,
much bigger scale.
yes. So yeah, the funny part about this is like, so for folks who may or may not know, during the course of Intergalactic, which was a space event that wrapped up a few months ago, or
Oh,
a
Imperial.
month, Imperial, excuse me, yes.
I was about to say Intergalactic is a Beastie Boy song.
Well,
But...
and also the Black Panther book. So yeah, there is that.
oh, that's
Um,
right. That's right. Black Panther Intergalactic. That's right.
but yes, Imperial was in the event, and during that event, Richard Rider and Peter Quill, who have been friends for decades in the Marvel universe, and also, you know, in real time, I guess you could say, but let's just keep it to the Marvel universe. Their friendship ended because of a thing that happened during the course of Imperial, and so, and that again, that has not been that long ago, because it's only been a couple of months since that kind of ended. So we come to this to where, you know, hey, Pete's just trying to get his friend back, but he uses a weird strategy to do that because you know, Richard was like, I don't want to see you again or whatever. Don't talk to you ever again. You done me dirty. So in doing what happened last issue and coming into this, there's a little bit of animosity that happened there that gets dealt with in a funny way during the course of this, because because you know, Pete kind of comes at him a certain way, and Rich is like, per my email, and then just
Right.
kind of going through that, which was kind of funny seeing that whole situation before, you know, the whole Flurkin-esque thing that happens later on in the book, and also another theft by the Timu Lando, but which I assume they're probably going to circle back around to at some point, but we shall see. So yeah, I assume, as Agent 70 said, they're at the very least they are trying to mend. I guess they're going to use this to mend the relationship between those two folks, even if it does or does not get Peter back into his Guardians type business. Because according to this, he clearly had, as much as he bragged about what he got into, he had clearly forgotten some things from his time that kind of bit him in there behind here. So we shall see, you know, how all of that turns out in this arc. But yeah, there's not necessarily much else to say about this, although outside of the fact that a thing happened, escalated very quickly in this whole situation. And with that, excuse me, we're going to go to the next book that we have in common, and the last book that we actually have in common, which is a new #1 book. Moonstar, #1 of 5.
Moonstar, #1 of 5. I didn't know. I did not make that notation that it's 1 of 5. Of 5. It is written by Ashley Allen, who wrote the Magic series that came out recently. The art on this book is by Eduardo Audino. Colors are by Arthur Hesley, and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. Now, I mentioned that Ashley Allen had written the Magic series because, one, I had not read it, but two, they also make an editorial note at the beginning, well, towards the beginning of this issue, that reminds everyone that the story is maybe not a direct continuation, but is definitely a direct continuation of Dani Moonstar's story from the Magic miniseries, because a lot of the things that happen in this issue flow directly from her interactions with some characters who were introduced in that Magic series. And, you know, we get some new friendly reader, some new reader friendly exposition and kind of a setup for this story, because there's a lot of context that has to be established, and I think that Ashley Allen does a good job of establishing the context. On top of the fact that you kind of have to explain why people are unable to connect a part of Dani's history to the Thor books for good reason. We'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And placing it directly in current continuity that way. Because there's a real reason why certain people can't create that or recall that connection that Dani had with the Thor corner of the Marvel Universe. But overall, I think that this was a good read for new readers and for old readers who have been fans of Dani Moonstar since the New Mutants days. And
I believe
with that, I'll hand
we're
it
in
off.
that.
Yeah, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
So, well, two things. One, yes, I was reading the Magic book, but I didn't get to this part of that story because I think I fell off because there was other stuff going on. Not because the book was bad. It was just there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, a lot of books kind of coming out, so there was a whole thing. So
We read a lot of books, folks.
Exactly. So I hadn't gotten to this. So I hadn't gotten to this part of the story where Dani kind of came in on. In fact, I was probably like 2 or 3 issues off from it, by that footnote standard. But yes, also the whole Thor book thing, which we had talked about previously in the pages of Avengers, and Agent 70 had kind of told me, it's like, yeah, something happened. He didn't necessarily tell me what happened, and I still hadn't read Immortal Thor to kind of see still yet what had actually happened. But this book puts that whole thing in a little bit of context. It was like, oh, okay.
Sure. I mean, you've been reading the Doctor Strange of Asgard.
Yes.
Right. And so that obviously, that definitely flowed right out of the ending of Immortal Thor.
Right. So, and in fact, the Doctor Strange book still kind of connected because he's still kind of in that place. But that being said, yeah, so Dani Moonstar, a favorite character. I would say one of our favorite. I would say at least enough of a fan of the character to want to check this book out. And like I just said, we do get a little bit of Dani backstory for folks. A little cliff noted version for folks. Coming into this book, which actually it's funny because it had me do a thing that I wish that I'm not mad that I did because it was kind of funny. So folks who don't know, who haven't been around this show for that long, during the pandemic first starting, comic books weren't coming out, and we were doing so there were no comic books coming out, so we were doing event books per week.
We were doing we were doing evergreen shows, right? Because we were covering events as a whole, things that had happened already, and we were covering them, from start to finish, and able to create kind of evergreen content for the podcast.
Right, and one of the things that that I thought, because again, that was a good 6 years ago at this point, damn near 5 or 6 years ago at this point. To see if we had done any New Mutant stuff, of which Dani Moonstar has been a part of. And I was like, well, if it wasn't, if we ever return to that, we should for a specific one. And come to find out, we actually did do it. And I pulled up the episode where a much younger Agent 70 and I discussing the New Mutants graphic novel and the Demon Bear saga, of which kind of gets mentioned here in a side note. Because I was like, I could say, did we do Demon Bear? And I know we said we were going to do Demon Bear, but I wasn't sure whether we did. And sure enough, we absolutely did. So going back and revisiting that old show was enlightening for reasons. That being said, though, yeah, coming to this to where after coming out of that magic book, and Dani's kind of in a place where it's like, well, after whatever happened there, she's trying to figure out what she's trying to do next. So she's in a place, and then we come to find out that, as Agent 70 said, yeah, there are people who doesn't seem to remember a certain particular quarter of the universe, which also kind of had me thinking back to the Avengers thing again, once again, for reasons, but apparently Dani does. And I'm sure there's probably a couple other people, but so there are remnants coming out of that magic book that come to seek Dani's help, and because of what happened there, she's not down with it at first, and that leads to some things happening, and leading into the story at large for Dani, and I feel it's interesting because, like I said, I'm like, what are they going to do? What could they possibly do with this character? I mean, there's a lot they could do because at this point, thankfully, they haven't done too much crazy power shifting or anything like that, or yet. But it feels like they kind of kept the character honest, and I love that because, like I said, sometimes they tend to change the character. And again, this is the first issue, so I still don't know if anything that happened. But I don't feel like it will. To try to make the character like, well, let's get a little bit more. Let's give this character a little bit more to work with, so that maybe some people could use them later on, and kind of put them on par with bigger figures in the universe or something like that. Which sometimes you don't necessarily need to do. But Sin, what's going on, Sin? How's it going? Shout out to the guy Sinziak who's in Twitch chat. Appreciate you for coming through, good sir. Thank you for coming through. But yeah, so I can't remember if there was nothing else. There was not much else to say about this book outside of, if you are a fan of New Mutants and or Dani Moonstar, you might want to check this out. So far the art's good. The story's, compelling enough to kind of come back to, or I actually come back to check out the next time this book comes out. So, I will definitely be, I don't know, I can't speak for Agent 70, but I would definitely be checking out this, this run to see what they do with this character. So I think it's the only question I got to is like, where did she get, maybe I forgot where, but where did in the world did she get her weapon from, her bow from? Because it was like, I knew the character uses bows and arrows and whatnot because but this particular brand, maybe she got that when she was a Valkyrie, or maybe this was something that happened in something that I've read and don't remember. So almost Psylocke inspired. So, or maybe this is an extension of her power that kind of happened somewhere during one of the many events that happened. Don't know. But that is Moonstar number 1 of 5. And Sin, hope you're doing well, for good sir. Thank you for coming by and checking us out here. We are actually going to go into the rapid fire as we are finished with the books that we have in common.
Alrighty, rapid fire review time, folks. Here we go.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, first up for me is Batman number 7, published by DC Comics. It's written by Matt Fraction, with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tumo Mori, and letters by Clayton Cowles and Jorge Jimenez. So this is definitely a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me, because Batman number 7 is, as it's teased on the cover, the reappearance of one Joker in the Batman corner of the DC universe, and it's very well written, right? It's the premise is such that you can definitely see, you can kind of figure out how it's going to develop, but it ends on a pretty fun cliffhanger. It's not a new cliffhanger or a new type of cliffhanger by any means, but it's done very well. You have to appreciate the creative team for executing it very well. So this is definitely a candidate for Kliq of the Week for me. Next up for me is all new Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider number 8. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Paolo Vianelli, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. This is a Spider-Gwen story revolving around Mysterio, and it is a pretty well told and just overall well told story, including the art and as well as the story itself, because it's got a lot of great Mysterio elements, lots of confusion, lots of not believing what you're seeing, not believing what you're being told. Very much a Mysterio type of story. Very well done. I don't know if you got this in the news, but Stephanie Phillips, I saw it ran across my socials that her last issue of all new Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider is going to be number 10. So that's 2 issues from now.
Okay, no, I did not get that news. But also, it's also kind of funny that at least this version of Gwen is dealing with a Mysterio thing, knowing what we know about in the Ultimate Universe, or what happened in the Ultimate Universe.
Right. And because it's ending or at least her run is ending at 10, I don't know if it's going to continue past 10.
Right.
Because that gives us 2 trade paperbacks. But I'm kind of mixing in news with talking about this month's book. Next up is The Amazing Spider-Man number 23. It's written by Joe Kelly with pencils by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Farmer and Cliff Rathburn, colors by Marcio Moniz, and letters are by our favorite lettering python, VC's Joe Caramagna. That Death Spiral story is, kicking off. We had that one shot that started the storyline. Now we have, the guts of the story starting here, and the key interactions here, and if you recall what I said about that Death Spiral one shot, is that we've got symbiotes with new hosts, right? Different hosts than what we're used to, and seeing how all of those character dynamics are going to mix with Spider-Man now is what's going to be interesting. And we get some of that in this issue, because we're getting a little bit of a face-to-face between boo. The Roddykat is booing, apparently. Or someone's booing.
Yeah, it's me. Carry on.
Yeah, goodness. So, what was I saying? Oh, about the character dynamics, right? So the character dynamics are going to be key here, right? We still don't know too much about the villain, but yeah, it's about the character dynamics between Spidey and these new symbiote hosts. It's very distracting. Next up and last for me is X-Men Annual number 1. It's written by Ryan Stegman with art by Steve Skroce with Sanford Green and Ryan Stegman. Colors are by Arthur Hesley and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is a candidate for Click of the Week for me. It's a really fun issue. It's written by Ryan Stegman, who obviously we all know as a penciler and an artist, but this book has a lot of meta commentary, tongue-in-cheek commentary on this, on just comics in general, and how they're produced, and how and some of the creative processes involved, and it's just a fun book to read. I would definitely recommend this just as a kind of a one-off story to just kind of enjoy. I pulled this because I was very curious to see what kind of story Ryan Stegman would tell. Very quickly, I will also say that it's very interesting that this X-Men annual does not focus on Jed MacKay's group of X-Men, the Alaskan X-Men. This is basically featuring the group of X-Men in Louisiana. That's Gail Simone's X-Men team, which is under the Uncanny umbrella, and it's just a little weird to see. I don't know if if I can come up with a better word than weird, but it's a little odd to see that X-Men group be spotlighted in an annual that's not labeled the Uncanny X-Men annual, because we know we're getting that, and that's the funny part. We're getting an Uncanny X-Men annual very soon. So, but that's it for me. I'm gonna hand the baton off to Roddykat.
Yeah,
and hopefully I won't distract him from what he's trying to say by scrolling all over the screen.
Hey, if you know how to do that, I'd be impressed. But I don't think you can. So, yeah, that Uncanny X-Men annual is next month in April. I think it's the first week in April, if I'm not mistaken, as I looked up earlier. But yeah. So hey, sometimes you gotta keep your focus where it is, folks. First book up for me is a book that admittedly I read like weeks ago, but we weren't sure when it's coming out, and so we're just going to talk about it this week because let's face it, it's going to keep it coming out at some point. And that book is Thundercats Lost in Time, which is a one shot, and we're just going to kind of throw this in here a little bit. It is written by Ed Brisson, art by Chris Campagna and Alessandro Miracolo, and that's a typo, Geraldo Gambone and Vincenzo Federici, colors by Ellie Wright, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry, excuse me. Again, I've read this book for, Sin. Yes, sir. There is well, one, this is not the main book. There's a Thundercats main book. There was another side book called Thundercats Lost. There is an event coming up called Thundercats and Silverhawks, because there's a Silverhawks book. So yeah, there's been Thundercats stuff, and there's been some separate one-shots and stuff. So yeah, there's been a lot of, we can talk if you want to. But yeah, there's been some stuff going on within the last year or two with the Thundercats and other properties. But for this particular book, which is actually partially leading into the event book, the crossover book that I just mentioned. So there was this team called the Thundercats Lost book. If you remember the original series of the Thundercats, there were the main Thundercats folks, and then there were the folks that came along in later series. Well, let's just say that a version of those folks that came along later is this. Yes, like Link. So it was so some of those people, so one of those people are in the main book right now because of something that happened in the Thundercats Lost book. And then the rest of the team is just kind of off doing the thing. There's been a supposed death or two, but don't worry about that. So, and they're trying to find their way to the main team and some other stuff, but that's a whole thing to get into a little bit later. They ended up traveling forward in time to the future, and that's where this book kind of takes place. This happened, the time travel thing happened at the end of their book, which leads to this book, which has them crossing over with Silverhawks. Like I said, the event has already been announced. It's a thing that is coming. But a future version of a Silverhawk helped them go into the future, gave them a mission, and in true video game style, kind of has them basically just like, hey, look, you got 3 lives or 3 or 4 lives, and no continues. You got to do this thing, and that's what this book is basically doing without getting into the whole premise. And again, part of their mission is because it is setting up the Thundercats Silverhawks crossover event that is coming fairly soon. And Some would also say a little bit of a Minority Report is involved with this story. But again, you would, I don't want to give away too much of what happens here because the person that kind of brings them into the future kind of has a problem of their own. And that's what kind of takes place into all of this. And like I said, is leading into the Thundercats Silverhawks crossover, of which I am anticipating, as if that has not been, stated enough by me talking about it. But that is pretty much that. And like I said, as far as I know, this book may be coming out this week, or in the next week or so. I don't remember, because like I said, we've been sitting on this book for like weeks at this point. So it was going to get talked about one way or another. The next book, actually, speaking of licensed properties, that I'm going to talk about is, and I don't think I have a soundbite for this one just yet, but I will. Thundarr the Barbarian. That's right, folks. And I said when I first talked about the first issue, I said Hanna-Barbera, it's Ruby Spears, but Ruby Spears came out of Hanna-Barbera, so you know what? It's still same family. Yeah, oh, Sin, we should talk. There's a bunch of licensed stuff that that is out there, fam. Let me tell you. But this is written by Jason Aaron with art by Cooper Ball, colors by George Sutil, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So, last issue we got introed, not necessarily introed to Thundarr and folks. This is actually feels like it's taking place in the same universe as the show. In fact, I guess if you remember enough of the show, some folks that are adversaries of Thundarr's kind of come into play. It's basically takes place after the show in the same universe. I was about to reach over and grab my copy of the DVDs because I ended up getting those at some point, but I'm not going to do that because something will fall over. And this kind of continues the story there. Basically, the Thundarr crew is still doing their thing. A group of wizards got together and be like, yo, we got to get rid of this dude. And it's, again, known folks from the show who've kind of come together in this council to get rid of them. Where in this particular issue, they are almost trying to enact their plan. But of course, Thundarr kind of comes in and does what Thundarr does. But, and part of the plan still kind of goes off, which, just like what happened in a particular episode of the show, ends up doing some time travel again. So I know that sounds like it might be giving away some stuff, but it is and it is not. Because there's still more to it, because there's a whole nother side of it where Thundarr is having dreams of, a certain type of dreams that's kind of messing him up, but it also may be some past thing that is going on. So we should see what is going on with that as this story progresses. Next up, and this is probably the longest title I have to read yet. Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, The Bad Batch, Rogue Agents, number 2 of 4. Written by Michael Morrissey, pencils by Reese Hannigan, inks by Elisabetta D'Amico, colors by Michael Atiyeh, letters by Tyler Smith and Bobby Bradford. So this is the continuing adventures of the Bad Batch in their current mission, which has to do with another group of rogue clones who are basically trying to, set themselves up, in a way let me think about it, because again, this has been a day or two since I've actually read this. But yeah, so the Bad Batch ends up on a mission to find this scientist. They end up running across these other clones that are also, kind of broken off from things. And this is set in the world of still in the world of Bad Batch, which is in that whole time frame. So they have met each other already, and things have already happened. In this particular issue, they're trying to look for a thing. The rogues, the other rogue clones are also looking for this thing, and they have to go through some things to try to find the thing that they're looking for, so they can continue their primary mission. And in true Bad Batch style, things happen. little this and that and other. And if I was about to say, oh, good, because the person I was hoping was going to show up just showed up. What's up, Von Gloom? Because the word of the day in this particular issue is clankers, as has been said a couple of different times during the course of this issue. So, and I know Von Gloom is on that. But yeah, what's up, Von Gloom? Yeah, you didn't miss half the show, but hey, it's all good. We know you're a busy man. But that is the Bad Batch Rogue Ages number 2 of 5. There is at the end of this let's just say a somewhat known bounty hunter comes into play, but not the one you would think of. Kind of comes into play. So therein lies that, or probably a lesser known bounty hunter than the one that you might be forwardly thinking of, let's just say. Next up, though, Batman Static Beyond number 4 of 6, written by Evan Narcisse, art by Miguel Mendoza, colors by Will Quintana, letters by Wes Abbott. So again, this is continuing the Batman Beyond Static team up. This is set in the future where we got a more grown up, Virgil. We got Batman Beyond because it is Terry McGinnis in that time frame. There was a thing where the substance that started the Big Bang for the Milestone stuff. No, not Cad Bane, Von Gloom, but is being harnessed to help Dakota, put it that way. And that's kind of a thing that Static has been working on, as we're going to find out, including interspace travel, as we come to find out, because that's what started this all off. But ends up making a new Bang Baby who kind of has some issues of their own, and they've had run-ins with them, and thanks to Terry McGinnis, didn't go quite well. In this particular issue, said bad guy, our adversary, who goes by the name of Shutdown, and if the name doesn't, evoke what the powers they have, I don't know what to tell you, kind of rematches with Static at a school that might as well be the Xavier School, but it's called the Tomorrow Institute. So he decided to start a fight at this institute, and things happen here. I'm not going to give away the whole thing, but this kind of leads into more of the story and some other people kind of coming into play, and some future versions of Justice League folk, and some other stuff that is going on out in space that to kind of come in play that is probably going to come back into the story in the last couple of issues or so, because like apparently people out in space have found out about what's going on Earth, one way or the other. And yeah, things are going on, folks. But it's been a good read so far, and I've been enjoying checking it out. Next up, if Sin's in the chat, this is going to be a funny one also. And also for Von Gloom as well. Because Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Racing CrossWorlds One Shot is my next book. Story by Isman Omar Ada. Yes, Warhawk does appear. So yes, and actually his one of his parents also shows up in this book. I will spoil that just a little bit. I ain't gonna tell you which one, but yeah. Anyway, story by Isman Omar Ada. I don't know. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Pencils by Thomas Rothberger, Mauro Fonseca, and Aaron Hammerstrom. Art by Ryan Japol, Minho Kim, and let's see, inks by, there's a lot of people on this book. Inks by Matt Froze and Rick Mack. Colors by Natalie Haynes and Bacardi Curry, and Rick Mack and Ho Min Kim and Valerie Pinto. Letters by Ed Dukeshire. So yeah, a lot of people were on this book. If you are familiar with the video game Sonic Racing CrossWorlds, this is pretty much that. If you are not familiar with that video game, it's Mario Kart, but better. I said it. Um, how much cocaine must I take before reading this Sonic book? You know what? You might want to microdose. I don't know. You may not. But yes, Warhawk and John's, yes. John is mentioned, but also the mother who shows up here. You know who that is. Anyway, Sonic Racing CrossWorld, basically a person in the Sonic universe named King Donpa, I think is what his name was, started a racing league, racing thing. It's got some tech and there's some cross there, and there's some portals that they use in the thing that sends people to other places in the world while you're racing. And that's pretty much the crux of the video game, and as well in this book. All of the items in that in the video games get used in this book, and a lot of trash talk from Sonic and crew, and of course Eggman and whatnot are at play in this book. So again, if you know about that video game, then you pretty much know what this book is. And this is for those people, because it's pretty much that. It was a fun read, though. Don't get me wrong. So I'm not trying to shorten it. It's just that it's just kind of funny as that's what this is. But yeah, you should definitely check it out if you are interested in that situation. And last but not least, I'm gonna have to work on this one just a little bit. But, a matter of fact, I'll do this one in post. Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, number 3. Plot by Tad Stones and Greg Weisman. Script by Greg Weisman. Art by Ciro Cangialosi. Colors by Ciro Cangialosi and Agnes Eterno. And letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So yeah, the team up between these two properties of the Disney folk, who's apparently never crossover before this particular book, are still at it. If you don't know the premise, Demona from Gargoyles is looking for a book called the Quackronomicon. So she goes to Morgana to find him, who eventually relented it and given it to her, which led us to what's going on in this particular issue right now. But also said, it's like, yeah, she'll never be able to find it because there's things and stuff in the way and whatnot. But you know what? All that's well and good until you have a Goslin. And if you know who Goslin is the Darkwing Duck universe, then yeah, you already know what a problem she is. So, that ends up being a thing, and shenanigans happened, and the crossover is kind of a fun read. Of course, Darkwing Duck says the thing, but also so does the guy from the Gargoyles. So, you know, there's a good bit of fun to be had in reading this this crossover, like I said, without giving too much away. And of course, other folks kind of pop in. Oh, Sin, like I said, there's so many books I could tell you about right that has happened since then, and crossovers that has happened previously. That would be like, they did what, the who what? Yeah, it's a lot. And there's even more Disney books coming, because but we've talked about that in the news, and I don't want to talk about that here again. So with that ends the books that I have. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
And actually, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Godzilla crossover that came out this week that I did not get a chance to read. So let that one bake in your brain for a little bit. 870, do you have your...
That's like issue what, like 2 or 3 of that already?
I believe it's at 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do I have a Kliq of the week of the comics that I've read? That's an excellent effing question.
Yes, that Turtles Godzilla book is at 4.
Right. I feel like I have a couple of candidates to talk about.
Go for it.
That X-Men annual was really good, and Batman number 7 was really good. DCKO number 5 was not one candidate, and I think I've got to decide between those two. And shout out to Avengers number 36 for not doing Rob Liefeld any favors.
Indeed. And for my potentials, Avengers 36 is definitely also in that running. Gargoyle's Darkwing Duck is also in there. Moonstar #1 is quietly in there. Also, there's a Speed Racer book that came out this week that I didn't get a chance to read. Also, again, their licenses out to Wahoo at this point. What was the other one? I don't remember. There was another. Oh yeah, Thundercats Lost in Time was also the other one. But yeah, there was a couple of good books out this week, and Batgirl was also good, but I don't know if that was going to make the cut. So, yeah. But have you finalized your pick?
Not just yet, but I've really only got those two to choose. I've just got to decide between the two.
Indeed. I think. Oh, Thunder was also good, but that's not going to make the cut either. I think part of me kind of wants to give it to the Avengers because, like, you know what, the whole volume of Avengers was a really good run. But our Kliqs we try to base it on the individual issue at large than the whole run, even though, let's face it, sometimes that doesn't. Sometimes it's a heart feel and not a head feel. Sometimes you pick stuff with your heart, folks, and it's slightly understandable. I think I'm actually though gonna, since I already have it up here, also. Thundercats Lost in Time one shot. It's weird because I read that book weeks ago, so it probably shouldn't stand up to stuff that I've read this week. But as I recall, when I actually read it in real time, like, yeah, okay, this was good. This was because it was before we got the news that the crossover was actually coming. So that we knew was coming. Just much in the way that the Energon universe has been teasing Mask, and that Mask book is coming that we already know about. So, yeah. Things are going on in the comic book world, folks. But Age of 70, where are you landing?
I think I'm going to go with X-Men Annual #1. I think technically Batman #7 was a stronger comic, but I think that X-Men Annual #1 I think was just a more enjoyable overall experience.
Okay. That sounds like a plan. And with that, as I put the names in the thing, we are going to go into the comic book. Excuse me, we're going to go into the cinematic news, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink Wines through CSPN. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
And being that I know what that means, we're going to try to blaze through some of these because it is also getting late, but we also started late, so it's not my fault. Cinematic news as we do about this time. Apparently we have a report from this site saying, and this wouldn't be surprised if it actually happened, that there's probably going to be another season of Star Wars Visions. According to like a report. So, according to this article, some site or some person suggests that Lucasfilm sees long-term value in the anthology format, with plans for extending for a season 4. The insider notes that, in a quote, an additional spinoffs are in the pipeline, which wouldn't be surprised because they've had spinoffs from stuff already. So, if that is the case, then sure, why not? But yeah, like I said, at this point, it has not been confirmed of whether that's actually the case or not. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up happening. Next up.
The first trailer for Lanterns teases a very different DC show. No brightest day nor blackest night, but plenty of shades of gray and HBO's spin on the Green Lantern core. There's also not a lot of green in the trailer.
Well, you gotta tease it out. Have you watched it?
I did watch it.
Okay, because
unimpressed.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not. I'm already on board. They're not trying to sell me on it.
Right.
I don't know how well they're able to sell anybody else on it. That's the problem.
Well, it's got to be better than what they did with Titans. So, but yeah, I have to check this out, and yeah, I'm gonna watch it either way, so it doesn't necessarily matter. But I'm just kind of curious as to how it's gonna look. But next up, pardon that, HBO Max and Paramount Plus combined into one streaming platform. So if y'all have been keeping up, there are folks that have been trying to buy WB, and one of those folks are Netflix, and other folks was Paramount, who apparently has the money to do that. And as it sounds right now, Paramount might be the one that's getting it. And yeah, that being the case, according to this article, like I said, Paramount says that HBO brand will operate with independence, whatever that. Well, we know what that's supposed to mean, but whether that is actually the case, don't know. And apparently, Britney Spears got arrested for DUI, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but that just happened to pop up on the side. But yeah, so those are Paramount's plans. They're unsurprising, they're going to put everything together. Honestly, Paramount and HBO Max together wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, except for the fact that Paramount owns the whole shebang. The franchises and stuff that they have would be fine if Warner Brothers didn't get rid of all that. That's also, by the way, hey, happy everything's over on Tubi. All the cartoons are over on Tubi now, by the way, because that happened. Von Gloom says Hal just seemed unnecessarily surly and cantankerous. I mean, you're gonna get that dude to do that. Of course, that's what you're gonna get, because that dude is good at doing that. Also says that Paramount will have a damn monopoly. Close enough. Yeah. Which they still have to kind of get through, things on that front. But they would have said the same thing if Netflix had gotten it also. So, yeah, we don't know if we're safe from that, sir. We'll see. But next up,
per the Hollywood Reporter, Paramount has hired Max Landis and Danny McBride to write separate scripts for a new G.I. Joe movie. The news came as a shock, as Landis was the subject of Daily Beast expose in 2019, where 8 women accused him of sexual, physical, and psychologically abusive behavior. Landis, who has admitted to engaging in emotional abuse, infidelity, and wild, unpredictable emotional behavior and tantrums, had until now not worked on Hollywood projects since the article's publication. So, let's see here. Yeah, this is a Paramount thing, because G.I. Joe is, I guess, produced under the Paramount banner, and now they're looking to reboot it.
Mm-hmm. Which we figured that was going to happen at some point. I don't know why they got this person to do it, but either of those people for that matter. Danny McBride that's a weird pick, but hey, I guess sure. Von Gloom says, "Screw you, Zazov." There we go. I was hoping he was going to do that. Tubi for the win also says, and boo, tomato, tomato. I do not have that soundbite, so sorry. Next up, Some weird news. The Matrix 5 gets encouraging update from director after 2 years of silence. Let's see. Following the initial announcement in 2024, updates on the Matrix 5 have been minimal, but there's some good news according to this article. This is a Screen Rant article, so you got to take what you can get, I guess. Drew Goddard confirmed that the fifth installment is still in the works. I'm in my writing cave writing, according to this quote. I don't know how long I'll be in that writing cave, but whenever I come out, I'll have news to share, which sounds more like a threat than anything else. And I don't know if we need a Matrix 5, given how that last one was. So, but apparently they're still working on it, and there you go. Next up, we get over into a little bit of, let's call this anime news.
1 second.
Well, why are you doing that?
Kadokawa and Aniplex established film distribution joint venture Animec Incorporated. The new company aims to better distribute and connect anime films with fans. Okay. So this comes in. This comes as Aniplex and Crunchyroll, both owned by Sony Group Corporation, announced the Tokyo-based anime production joint venture Hayate. Also, as of last year, Sony is Kadokawa's largest shareholder. As its subsidiary, Aniplex works with Kadokawa on this new venture. Sony deepens its ties into the anime production and distribution arm internationally. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Sure. Von Gloom says Landis is not even basing this movie on Larry Hama's run, which, he's basing it on Chuck Dixon's run. I was wondering why you were asking about that on Twitter or whatever. So, and Chuck Dixon, if I'm not mistaken, was the one who was on the show, not the books. So I think this is what you were asking about. And also, Von Gloom says 5, never watched 4. You're not really missing much. It was all right, but it's, yeah. Next up, we get into some comic book news with, hey, if you want to learn how to if you want to learn how the art of comic book coloring is done, then you can try it. You can learn for a mere $399. And I say mere as I had that kind of money. But I saw Chris Sotomayer, who's a known colorist, promoting this on social media. I believe it was on Blue Sky. And yeah, you can learn how to color for comic books with this course. And I believe, there you go. So you will learn from the best-selling and highly respected colorist Chris Sotomayer, who's done a lot of books. I'm not even going to name all the ones they have here. You will get Chris's lessons and lectures and discussions. And apparently there are 3 courses for one discounted price, plus the special effects course thrown in for free, according to this. I'm assuming this is the place where this is coming from. Or I guess this. Oh yeah. So this article is on a site that is kind of, I guess, is like the Udemy for comic book folks. So, and if you know about Udemy, you can learn how to do this, that, and the other from the site. But this seems like that for comic book folks. And I did not know that before reading this article or before coming across this article. So that's actually kind of cool. If you have some interest in that, you can check it out in the show notes. Not an OnlyFans, fine, please. Next up, though.
That is expensive, though.
It is. It very much is. But I mean, I guess if you get something out of it, hey, who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably very heavy into digital coloring, and to produce that's got to be expensive. Next up, in shocking yet not surprising news, and I'm kind of sympathetic to Heidi McDonald, the writer of this article over at The Beat, when she says this, because Mike Richardson, founder and publisher of Dark Horse Comics, has been removed from his position at the company
And it's not a surprise because Embracer Group, the parent company of Dark Horse, has been in financial distress for a few years now, with many layoffs and closures across its portfolio of companies. In a statement that went out to business partners and creators obtained by another site, um, Dark Horse Vice President of Product Development and Sales said that the move explained as a way for changes to modernize the business and strengthen collaboration across publishing, games, film, merchandising, and other key areas. The statement sent by Dark Horse's Vice President of Product Development and Sales, Randy Larman, stresses this leadership change was done in order to better align Dark Horse within a more connected and forward-looking group structure within Embracer. Downsizing. Okay.
Yeah. It's weird because this is one of the rare times where we see them, taking folks from the top as opposed to the bottom in situations like this. But also, for those of us out there who are familiar with the video game side of dealing with the Embracer Group, already have known these issues for quite a while now, with what they put themselves into and how they're trying to get out of it. I had totally forgotten that Dark Horse had been embraced. So that's still kind of crazy. Next up, though, John Cusack. Yes, that John Cusack is to promote his graphic novel Momo on late night talk shows. This may have already happened before, I'm not sure. But yes, actor John Cusack launches a graphic novel called Momo, created with Ignacio Noe and Damien Hirst. It will hit stores in July, and it will come from Mad Cave Studios, coinciding with, of course, San Diego Comic-Con appearances. According to this article, the story blends conspiracy theories, cosmic horror, and surreal road trip with Jackie Gleason and occult twists. So, yeah, I guess if you are one of those late night show watching folks, I guess you'll see him out there promoting this, if he hasn't already been out there doing it already. Next up.
Oni Press unveils a bold fall 2026 graphic novel lineup. The upcoming slate spans a wide mix of genres and tones, highlighting both established voices and rising talent. Among the new titles is A Ghost Arm Made of Angry Ghosts by writer and colorist Oliver Mertz and artist Alex Giotto, an unsettling story rooted in suburban anxiety. French cartoonist Yoann Cavige delivers a visually striking interstellar pursuit in Moon Deer. For younger readers, Haunted Comic Club by Eisner-nominated writer Josh Tierney and artist Caitlin Solomon offer a spooky middle-grade adventure. Rounding out the lineup is Canticle of Lost Souls, a dark young adult fantasy from Italian writer Michele Monteleone and artist Freddie Tanto.
Yes, Oni still exists. Yes, they still do comics, but I think they have also gotten into licensing stuff. I believe I also might have a manga arm somewhere in there, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that. I can't remember. I know a couple of them have.
These are lengthier graphic novels. These aren't single issues, so these range in price from $16.99 to $29.99.
Right. So, but I do believe they still do single issue comics. So I feel like I've seen one or two this week. Next up, though, we got a press release. Not a press release, but we got a book called Royals #1 from Image Comics. It's a mini-series. It's about two brothers, Paul and Castor, who have perfected the perfect poker hustle using their uncanny telepathic connection. But they might have finally met their match when they risk it all against the leader of the Bloody Cox, the most ruthless criminal syndicate in Seoul. So it's kind of like, what, Rounders, but with a comic book spin or something? Was it Rounders or Swingers?
No, Rounders.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Eisner Award-winning writer Derek Kirk Kim, and rising star artist Jacob Perez invites you to the shadowy back alleys of Seoul, South Korea, for a thrilling, mind-bending crime caper unlike any other, according to this basically that's a press release, you might as well say. Next up,
Publishers Weekly reports Harper Alley, HarperCollins' graphic novel imprint, has unveiled its first adult-aimed books. The lineup, which will launch in the summer of 2027, will include Mr. Oblivion, a new supernatural detective series by writer Jeff Lemire and artist Teddy Christensen. Lemire elaborated on his blog, revealing the series will consist of 3 books. The first volume, Incantations, will arrive in 2027. So this is part of Harper Alley currently planning a release of 6 to 10 adult books a year with at least 2 to 3 a season.
Yeah. Next up, apparently you'll be happy to read Mad About DC on April 1st, which is the perfect time for the day for a Mad book to come out, honestly. So according to this press release here, DC is proud and slightly concerned to announce Mad About DC, a 64-page one-shot arriving on April 1st, 2026. No, according to this article, it's not a prank, unless you count letting Chip Zdarsky run this thing as a guest editor. A prank on the DC universe itself. You have to ask Chip, according to this. So yeah, Chip Zdarsky is guest editing a Mad book that's coming out next book. So yeah, sure, that's in his wheelhouse. Why not? It goes on a little bit further into this whole thing, and of course, there's going to be some DC parodies going on in this. Next up.
You skipped a story. Heroes and villains travel time and space in Doom Quest. Doom Quest, the 10-part definitive Doctor Doom epic by Ryan North and Francesco Mobili, kicks off in May. So this is part of the press release. This May, we get a 10-issue maxi series written by current Fantastic Four writer Ryan North, and acclaimed artist Francesco Mobili. I've pronounced that name a couple of different ways already. Let's see here. This is going to be on sale. The number 1 issue is going to be on sale May 27th. And this is, like I said, 1 of 10. So it's a 10-issue maxi series.
Mm-hmm. You thought we was getting rid of Doom even after everything that happened with One World Under Doom? Well, no, we were not, because you all know what's coming up. Next up, let me make sure I didn't skip anything else. Okay, so we get into a little bit of Toy Corner with a new Dark Knight Batman Returns and a Superman figure. Both are coming out 1/6 scale. Let's see, from Hot Toys. Oh, sorry, excuse me. It's a Superman figure from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. My apologies. I think there is a Batman Dark Knight figure also, but let's see. It will be coming from Sideshow Collectibles with a 2027 release. It is going to be pricey because it's Hot Toys, but I am not seeing a price here. However, you can see some pictures from it.
Oh.
Yeah. Detailed as Hot Toys does, Good looking stuff. There you go. Oh yeah, and there is the Batman. So there you go, for scale. And of course it comes with cloth cape. I'm assuming that's a cloth cape, looks like it. Base, some hands, a couple of different faces, looks like. And yeah, apparently a newly developed muscular body. So there you go, folks. Hot Toys, innovating. Catch it. Next up.
Yeah, it's definitely in the style of The Dark Knight Returns. Pre-order alert: Hasbro Marvel Legends, Marvel's Bullseye, and Marvel's Muse 2-pack was available. Is the operative word here. Was available to order on Hasbro Pulse for Hasbro Pulse, members, and for everyone else an hour later. And I just looked on the app, and it says that this 2-pack is sold out. I got mine, but this was $55.99 for this 2-pack. It's an interesting 2-pack because Daredevil's Rogues Gallery is not all that big, so it's interesting to add one of the more recent additions to the Daredevil Rogues Gallery with this, as well as getting an updated Bullseye.
Right. Yeah, hey, sure. Von Gloom says, seems like FF and Doom will remain tightly in North script. Sure. I mean, he's been doing good by him so far. But next up, from Iron Studios, I was about to say Iron Galaxy, which is definitely not these people. Iron Studios, the Infinity Gauntlet Battle Diorama Series Cyclops 110 Deluxe Art Scale Limited Edition statue. That's a lot to say in one breath. It is 12.8 inches, 1/10 scale, as I said, made of polystone, according to this, it says. Based on the comic series, the Infinity Gauntlet, highly detailed sculpt and hand painted. If you're watching the video version, you can see said figure, which actually looks pretty good. If I were into figures, there's Psych without helmet and with helmet. And there's the full shot. There you go. I do not see a price for this, but more than likely it is also going to be pricey. Next up.
Yeah, that's got to be pricey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a statue.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Marvel Cosmic Invasion Collector's Edition. So let's get this open. So this is $199.99. This is so you get this for your console of choice. You get a 12-inch statue of Nova and Rocket Raccoon battling Annihilus. You get an 18x24 reversible poster featuring original art by Marvel artist Mark Bagley and colored by Frank Darmada. Colored by Joe Carter. No, I'm kidding. Reverse side featuring key art from the game, Super Nintendo style retro box and non-functional cart in Annihilus green, combo cards for all 15 playable characters, and premium arcade style box. So you were waiting for that physical collector's edition. There it is, because you get a lot of extra stuff.
Mm-hmm. Almost limited run style. And it'll be available Q3 2026. So there you go. Hasbro debuts new Kliqs the Transformers the movie figure. Now you might be asking yourself, who? And you're probably right to do that. But if I'm not mistaken, Kliqs was one of those ones that you just saw him look to the camera when Unicron was screwing things up. But yeah, it says here, Kliqs, let's see. Kliqs was a civilian from the planet of Lithone. When Unicron attacks Lithone, Kliqs and his companions Arbius attempt to escape in a small spacecraft. That dude. Yeah. And but he does show up later on in the movie, but not for that much longer, put it this way. The figure is, let's see, pre-orders are already live on Hasbro Pulse. It's $27.99 with a September 2026, that's a typo, release. And if you're wondering to see what the figure looks like, if you're watching the video version, there it is. Boom. And it also transforms, which I don't remember the character doing in the movie. But hey, it's a Transformer. It's Cybertron again. Gotta do it. Next up.
LucasArts emulator Dream adds support for a bunch of old Star Wars games in a, quote, major update. So the creator of Dream stands for DOS Retro Emulation Arena for Maniac Mansion, has just released a new update for the LucasArts emulator that introduces compatibility with 16 previously unsupported titles, making it easier than ever to get some of these old games up and running on modern PC hardware. let's see. Among its features are support for all 8 released Lucas Learning games, 2 new licensed games, Monopoly Star Wars and Mindscape's 1989 DOS title Willow, and 6 new late 90s Star Wars titles spanning a range of genres as well as other handy features. So the games are, as I mentioned, Willow, Monopoly Star Wars, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. A lot of this stuff is going to sound very familiar to people who were around in the late 90s. Star Wars Droid Works, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3D, Star Wars Rebellion Supremacy, Star Wars Episode 1, The Gungan Encounter. Do you really want the Gungan Encounter? Star Wars Yoda's Challenge Activity Center, Star Wars Pitroid, Star Wars Anakin Speedway, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, Star Wars X-Wing Alliance, Star Wars Early Learning Activity Center, Star Wars Math, Jabba's Game Galaxy, and last but not least, maybe least, Star Wars Jar Jar's Journey.
Now, I know you might be saying to yourself, can't I get a lot of this stuff on Good Old Games? Yes, you can. But a lot of that stuff, including that last one, I don't think so, because probably for very good reasons are not there. But because I know for a fact that I have half of these, or half of the more known ones on Good Old Game. And also there's a total conversion mod for X-Wing TIE Fighter that I kind of want to look into, but that's probably be after the show. So yeah, if this is of any interest to you, then you can check that out in the show notes. Takara Tomy Jurassic Capture Series Jetfire Combine, which is basically Optimus Prime and Jetfire 2-pack. Here's a promotional, image of the thing. Actually, wait. Oh, okay, yes. So there is an Optimus Prime figure, as you can see, and looks like more movie version, and the Jetfire, which looks like the Blackbird from the X-Men, which we don't know it's the SR-71, but it's fine. And they combine together in one figure, just like some of those later Transformer shows did. And yes, this is definitely, according to this article, movie accurate redecos of those two figures. Pre-orders will go live on March 6th, so that would be, oh, look at that. It's March 6th right now. For the Japanese market, and there's a picture, so if you want to get your import on, or, good luck. Next up.
NECA is bringing Usagi Yojimbo, the ultimate Usagi Yojimbo 7-inch scale action figure in a crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So this is a crossover line, and we get here a preview of the Usagi Yojimbo figure. Pre-orders have not gone live yet as of the writing of this article 5 days ago. We'd have to double check to see if it's live now. But yeah, this is a pretty classic interpretation of Usagi Yojimbo.
Mm-hmm.
With armor and katana. And it looks like, I forget that character's name, the
little dinosaur thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was about to say, if you had known that, I'd have been impressed, because I damn sure wouldn't have.
It's been a long time since I read a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, there's that figure. But wait, folks, there's more, because Donatello joins NECA's CMNT Usagi Yojimbo collection. Let's see. Figures will launch in 2026. Of course, all 4 totals will be included, each with a signature weapon and swappable heads for dynamic display. As rightly so, Donatello leads the lineup, featuring new sculpts, comic book styling, and multiple accessories. If you're watching the video version, you can see all 4 totals right there, but you could also see Dani right there. And also, shout out to anybody who is brewing up decks in Magic the Gathering with the new Turtles set, because I need to get on that. But yeah, there's the Dani figure right there. There's him with Bo. There's him with Mikey. And yeah, and there's the packaging and the stuff that he comes with. There you go. So you can go to, I assume you can go to the NECA store right now, and yeah, that's just the homepage. And check in onto that. Next up.
In A little bit more than a week. Fans will soon be able to create their own dueling armies of G.I. Joes and Cobras in Renegade Game Studios' G.I. Joe Heroscape as the first wave of sets launches on March 16th, 2026. There will be 4 sets in total at launch, though if you want everything you need for a game in one box, you can just pick up the G.I. Joe Heroscape Rumble in the Rift Battle Box, which will come with iconic characters like Cobra Commander, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Dr. Mindbender, and more. That said, part of the fun of Heroscape is the army building potential and the ability to truly create your own G.I. Joe Dream battle scenarios, and this new collection looks like it has a lot of that.
And yeah, indeed, it does. And you skipped a one, but it's okay. So, going back to that NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collaboration thing, there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Garfield figure. That is I think shortly coming out. It's a 7-inch scale and priced at $46.99. It is due to release in Q1 2026, so that's very soon. If you're watching the video version, you can see said Garfield figure with shell and a pizza cutter and Odie, and there's the turtles with a bunch of pizza, and yeah, therein lies that. Yep, there you go. And next up,
Super 7 Thundercats Wave 15. This is 7-inch scale figures by Super 7. Wave 15 includes Zax. Yeah, that's definitely a who.
Who?
Mumra, Old Man Mumra, Jagara, and Wiz Ra. That's a whole bunch of
Who?
Buying the assortment direct from Super 7 gets you an exclusive super pack featuring an additional head sculpt for each figure. Look for the wave to ship out in June. The figures are priced at $65 each. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we talked about it because, like, I told you about those other figures that the Tiger and Chikara ones that I told you about that I saw on Big Bad, and they were this price. I'm like, yeah, that's slightly ridiculous, but somebody will pay it.
Gracious.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 7-inch figures, so they're a little bit on the larger side. They're the McFarlane scale, but these are not being produced on the mass production scale of the McFarlane toys. So that definitely contributes to the higher cost.
Right. Speaking of Super 7, if anybody knows where I can get an MF Doom figure, please let me know. That's not exorbitantly pricey, because I know they're probably out there on eBay. Somebody's running up the price, but I would like one of those, and they don't sell them anymore. Next up, though, Dungeons & Dragons Questers bring storytelling fun to young adventurers. So there's some Dungeons & Dragons toys, as you can see if you're watching the video version. There's a mimic. There's a dragon. There's a dragon wizard. Haha. But yes, D&D has partnered with Basic Fun to bring Dungeons & Dragons Questers to market. This collectible action figure line is positioned to bring tabletop storytelling and play to Gen Alpha audience while leaning into the legacy of love built up over the years for the well-established D&D lore. There's a quote. We won't have to say it. But you can see the figures there. It's a Dragonborn. See, it's targeted to kids from 5 to 8, and it is expected to roll out at major toy retailers worldwide beginning this July. So there you go. Last up, which I know if someone may or may not have seen this, in the variant cover, Marvel brings Magic the Gathering Spider-Man art to new variant covers. So let's see, they're going to be arriving this May on books. So there is that. So there's a one from the Spectacular Spider-Man card from that set from I guess a set or two ago. There's the Carnage right there, Imposter Syndrome card, Gwenom, and there's a couple of other sort of here, and of course the sale dates starting on March 6th, and the books that they will be attached to, which I would not read because there's a lot of them. But yeah, if you are interested in variant covers that with a Magic the Gathering spin, then hey, They are coming your way. Synergy. And that's it, folks, for the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
Last ad read of the night is keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. That helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that is it for this show. We will be back next week with more Monarch Legacy of Monsters, more books, more, shenanigans, whatever the case it may come in. But I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's cspn.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page. But you can also find us recording every Thursday night, most times, 9:30 / more closer to 10 o'clock Eastern time, which we are about to go into time change, by the way. So make sure you just spring forward on youtube.com/TheKliqNation. That's TheKliqNation, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. That definitely helps people find our show. Smash that like button, hit that notification button so you know when we are broadcasting live and direct over on all of the ways that you can find us live.
Indeed, folks. All right, come on back next week. We will be here. We promise. Well, unless something crazy happens, which in this economy it tends to. Lord. But folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. As we say all the time, peace, but also fuck ICE and fuck Donald Trump.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.
Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?